What's up, everybody? Mitchell here, back with another episode of From the Forest to the Tide. Got some new faces on the podcast. We had a little shout out last episode to Rob. Thank you, Rob. Some will remember that one. And we've got Chaz here as well. We're going to tuck into some USL talk. But before we get to the business end of things, we're going to kick it over to Charles to recap what we've gone over since last episode.
Well, we had Heartsapalooza. What an amazing event that was. That was on Friday the 6th, so essentially last weekend. And we got a little video out on that. We had some stuff go on Instagram. You'll see Chaz there with a scarf behind his back. Did we introduce everybody who was on here today, Rob and Chaz?
Yep.
Okay, already there. So they're our USL 1 experts. So we're going to be going over – not that Mitchell isn't. I mean, certainly looks like an expert.
I just know how to Google things.
That's right.
Very good.
That's basically what we do too. Just to
Are you still
clarify.
Googling? Because I'm like ChatGPT only.
Nah, I haven't advanced that far yet. I still live in the woods.
Well, Heartsapalooza was awesome. I had a great time. I thought the event was extremely impressive. Easily over 1,000 people there. Tickets are, where are we on tickets now? Where the Hearts are like over 4,000?
We're encroaching on selling out the season ticket reserve. I'm not exactly sure how many they put on hold.
Yep.
Last number I heard, they had about 300 left.
Wow. And yesterday, here at the zoo, we're at the zoo again down in Portland, or up in Portland, depending on which direction you're coming from. There was an event, so the Hearts had some ticket people here to actually give the Dirigo Union a chance to get into the supporter section early. So I know I got my tickets at a really nice discount. Extremely nice of the club.
Dirigo Union and anybody that put down a supporter section.
There you go.
So it was an exclusive event for anybody that was in the supporter section tier of tickets. They had an opportunity to come out. Wasn't really an open to the public event, just testing out, making sure that the deposits were getting applied to tickets, things like that. So good.
And I was able to call in.
Yeah, they were hammering it. They had a goal of 100, and I believe they hit it. So we have a ton of people already underway. The waves for ticket selection are coming right up. If you've placed a deposit, your ticket rep has reached out to you with how to get into your wave, what wave you're going to be in, and when that starts. So you'll be able to confirm your seat selection at that point.
Right. So I was actually able to call in. And I don't want to say anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the rep I was speaking to said people could call in this week. Actually,
they could
for supporters tickets. So it's Sunday.
Supporters section only.
Right, supporters section only. It's Sunday. Arsenal's playing Tottenham right now. This will probably go live Wednesday, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything. But you know what? I hope they both lose. Not possible.
We have a salty weekend.
But if this comes out before the end of the week, and you want to be in the supporters section. Give the Hearts a Pine a ring.
Yeah.
Did you say where the number was? Sorry.
I think it's right on their website, or just shoot your ticket rep a message.
Okay.
And there's payment plans for those too.
There's payment plans,
Yeah. So,
plenty of time to get ahead of your tickets and get paid off. I just paid in full. I mean, at this point, everything's free after.
Well, you're rolling in dough, bro.
I'm not rolling
Everybody
in
knows
dough.
that.
I tailed a lucky football bet. I wasn't watching the right football.
It's not actually a payment plan. It's just you pay part, Mitchell pays the rest of your season.
Yeah, no.
Season
I don't get the bread.
This is where your supporter group dues are going.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Well,
right in Mitchell's pocket.
I'm super excited. I got 2 tickets. One for myself, and I have a family of 5. I got 1 extra, so I figured I could bring somebody.
Yeah.
Alternate that, and I'm really excited for my 9-year-old. She loves Salah. Maybe she's too little, but I'm excited. I think like being in that atmosphere is actually going to be awesome.
It's not
for her as well. I'm not
Yeah.
worried about anybody being in danger or anything, just because I've seen this come up a couple times. So I just thought it might be fun to talk about today.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
I think you're still going to be fine. I mean, maybe not bring a baby, but
No.
I think little kids that they might hear some choice words, but
that's part of the game, right? Like growing up in New England and traveling down to Boston to go to Fenway or the Garden as a kid, or my first Patriots game was in Buffalo. I was 8 or 9, I think. Maybe it just turned 10, whatever. But it's part of the world we're in, the world of sports. Athletes are saying it. Like it's part of the game.
I wish it wasn't true, but my kids have heard worse at school
exactly
already by 4th grade. So.
Right.
All right, well, bring the kids, bring the family, bring the grandparents.
Kids, right.
Don't bring the
it's
dog.
It's not going to be a dangerous experience.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's not like a Red Star
It might
Belgrade,
be dangerous for people sitting around me from my kid. She throws stuff. I've not taught her anything. She's violent. She brings knives. Well, not really.
No, it is. I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people have been talking about it in the Discord too, asking questions. Parents' discretion. I think it's going to be a fun, vibrant experience, but with smoke and drums, noise levels, exposure to some things that you may not have control over are all things to be aware about. So
I think it's going to make it more interesting for her, honestly, because like when she went and saw Liverpool and Pittsburgh in preseason, she loved it, but she kind of got a little bored. So I think all the hoopla around it will actually make it even more fun and more memorable.
Yeah, it's exciting. And there's going to be a kid zone. There's going to be stuff for kids around the stadium, too.
I'm going to load her up on hop. What is it called? Bissell's water? Hop water? Hop water.
Hop water.
Yeah, she's going to have it's going to be awesome. There's no alcohol in that, right? I didn't just dig myself into a bad hole.
I don't know. I'm not a beer guy.
I said that thinking there was no alcohol in the hop water. So if there was, she's not going to have any. I apologize. All right, real quick, and then we'll get into this episode that I'm super excited to have you guys. So thank you, Rob. Thank you, Chaz, for coming as our USL 1 experts. It's going to be a great episode. But real quick, Pochettino was confirmed as the United States coach. I want to take from everybody. I'll start off. I love the his whole thing about being a believer. Maybe that's the Jurgen Klopp in me. He kind of started everything about believers. I think Pochettino took that from him a little bit. But we do need to believe, or else it's never going to happen. So that's my take. Good appointment. Great appointment. Good first couple press conferences, whatever you want to call them. I'm happier than I don't know who else we would have got. So that's my take. Chaz.
Yeah, go ahead, Chaz.
Honestly, I'm just happy it's not Berhalter anymore.
Yeah, that's what
there's
seems
that.
to say.
But as of right now, you guys are also talking to a guy that's in the dumps. So after Saturday, I don't like to watch a lot of football.
Yep.
Every week, I watch my USL 1 games. Also, if you watch more USL 1 games than me, you're a sicko. First of all.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually after
That's why I need you
Saturday,
here.
I have to disconnect, and this is another Saturday that I'll want to forget. Absolutely. So yeah, but I'm happy with it. I wish it was sooner rather than we're 2 years.
We're close, but I think with the deadline and World Cup on the horizon, I think if you're gonna do something, now's the time to do it. I'm just glad they've gotten it over the line. We talked about it last episode. Yeah. I ranted on it for forever. I'm just really happy that he's recognizing what Emma Hayes has been doing for the women's team, and kind of trying to follow suit, pick a system, believe in the system, and the prior experience with our captain and Pulisic is going to be very valuable. So I'm excited.
What do you think, Rob?
I'm just so happy that the USSF finally realized that they should have something to play for, almost. Like I think for a really long time they've looked at the men's national team and only said, well, what can we get here? I think bringing Pochettino in is really making sure that the team has ambition. It is going to go out there and actually try to win things as opposed to coasting, which has been what I think kind of they've been doing for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. All right, awesome. So we're hopeful.
Very hopeful.
Are we believers?
I'm a believer.
Oh, I'm a skeptic.
And
I was just going to say, Rob's face, he's like, I'm not believing. We're not winning shit.
I will say, fun little kind of coincidence. I was watching some YouTube content, some guy playing Football Manager, and he had this big...
Was he in for the job? Did he put his name in?
No, so he did this 100-year experiment where he just ran the entire world football. It's not me.
Okay.
Football Manager's too much reading for my small brain. But he ran the simulation, and in the Excel sheet, he had the U.S. winning the World Cup in 2026. So maybe it's a little Simpsons moment where, Poch comes in and really finds his groove early. I think it's a good opportunity for him to step back in, and I think home field advantage is going to play a part in guys getting to work.
That's exciting,
I
right?
think you should turn your notifications off on your socials after saying that. You're about to get absolutely blown up.
It wasn't me. I'm just
2026,
I just said it was a funny little coincidence.
There's plenty of time for people to forget that statement.
It's like the dog that picks like the NBA finals or whatever by like hitting the ball into buckets.
Isn't it an octopus in the World Cup? Like,
there's an octopus, there's turtles, there's goldfish. Some guy has a corgi that hits a ball.
Why is it an octopus?
So many
Somebody
animals.
knows. Somebody's screaming.
Yeah,
because they're more intelligent than humans.
All right. Well, octopuses aside, let's start. So USL 1, this is it. We hope people will tune in, and I hope I'm going to learn something today as well because I don't watch that much of it. I'm much more interested in USL than MLS, and obviously because Portland's getting a team and all that. So hopefully this will be really informational. So I'm just going to throw these questions out there, and then you got everybody who I can also answer. I probably won't, but whoever wants to answer, feel free to answer. So for anybody who's unfamiliar with USL, could you give us like a brief overview, including the systems, the actual tier structure of USL Championship, USL 1, USL League Two, and then we'll just pick it up from there. So, like, what's the structure? How's it lined up?
Sure. So, I mean, so the United Soccer League, it's been around for about 30, 40 years.
That long?
So it started out as kind of a regional league in the 80s. That's kind of a time period in U.S. soccer when they were kind of on the downhill slope. In the 90s, of course, things really started to pick up as we were going to host our first World Cup. And that's when the league became a professional league, started playing. It really kind of solidified into the modern era, so to speak, about 10, 15 years ago. So at the top, there's multiple different levels. So at the top, you got the USL Championship. That is the Tier 2 league.
Behind the MLS.
Yep, right below the MLS. Right now, there's 24 teams in the league. Yeah, so 24 teams playing there. The closest one to us is Rhode Island FC. I'm wearing their kit today.
Good choice today.
Yeah. They lost yesterday.
Not come March, take that stuff off. But
yeah, hey, you know what? If Gabe, when we get a kit, I will wear the kit. Just letting you know. But anyway,
Mitchell will pay for it.
Yeah.
Why do I pay for everything?
Because you're loaded, man.
Says who?
I'm just teasing.
Yes.
He's not.
So below the championship is the league we're going to be joining, which is League One, which is in Tier 3 of the U.S. Soccer pyramid. There's 2 other Tier 3 leagues. We can talk about that maybe in a little bit.
Yeah.
But, so right now there's 12 teams in the league. Right now, huge expansion, though. There's 5 teams being added next year.
Right, that's a big change.
It
That's
might
a
be
big
6.
change.
I think it might have been
The rumor is there might be a 6th.
Yeah, I thought there was a 6th, possibly, if like Eugene.
If Eugene adds. And there's been continuous rumors about Corpus Christi, Texas. Also joining the league. Maybe not next year, but the year after. Yeah. So that's seeing really big expansion in terms of interest. Those are kind of the 2 professional men's leagues. There's also below that what the USL calls a pre-professional league. It's the USL League 2. It's mostly for guys who play college, soccer and want more play time during the summer. So they're not paid because of the NCAA rules, although that might change in the next couple of years depending upon how the NCAA kind of does their blue chip program. But there's over, I think I have 122 teams.
It might be more than that.
Yeah.
I've counted, but I guess I just don't know how accurate.
So 122 teams in...
128 teams, actually, in the USL 2. They're everywhere.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I had no idea USL 2 was that big, that type of setup.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
Probably if you're interested in it, one of the coolest teams is actually really close to us. It's Vermont Green up in Burlington,
I know
Vermont.
about Vermont Green.
The USL 2 runs a really short season. It's only 14 games, so 7 home, 7 away. But like Vermont sells out every single week.
How big's their stadium?
They got a 3,000 seater
around 3,000.
at UVM. Yeah, it's a really, really cool stadium.
How many games does USL 1 play, and when does their season start and end?
So it's going to change a little bit going forward because we're adding so many teams. So that's kind of a little bit of a question right now is what the format is going to look like.
With 5 additional teams, that does change things, doesn't it?
Well, we're losing 1 as well.
Potentially.
The rumor going around right now that I've heard, I don't know if you've heard of this, Chaz, but something like 18 to 20 home matches next year between all the competitions.
Yeah, that's probably about right with how the Jägermeister Cup works. They're like, I would probably say it's going to be 35 to 40 games in total.
Yeah.
Which is about on par with most other leagues in the world. So at least we're, getting tied in that pocket. But I would probably say about that area.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So just real quick, and we touch upon this a little bit in some of the questions that are coming, but I just can't shake it. The relationship from USL 1 to USL Championship to MLS.
Mm-hmm.
It's like USL 1 and USL 2, part of the same structure, but MLS is kind of
you want to talk about Soccer Wars right now?
Not
that
quite.
The topic
I'm just saying,
we're getting
how would
into?
you define, starting off early so people really understand it? We understand USL 1. We understand USL 2 below us. USL Championship is above us. But, how does USL as a whole relate to the MLS? Just quickly. We don't have to get into the wars.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would say, and I don't know, Chaz, if you have this point of view, it's become a little bit more of a heated exchange in recent years between the leagues.
I would just keep them honestly just separate. I feel like there's just not because
for anybody who's listening for the first time, just think of them as separate entities.
I would just keep them as separate entities.
I would look at it like a Walmart versus Target kind of thing.
It's pretty interesting though. Like, what other sport has this?
Yeah,
maybe I'm ignorant.
Whatever,
maybe
whatever
ours,
league,
but like,
whatever soccer structure in the world has.
That's
this
what I mean. Our
system.
top league is like a separate entity from the leagues that are directly below it, and players that are essentially pipelines for players to become professional athletes. All right, we'll get there. But anyway, so think of it as it's a separate entity. Okay. Yeah. So there's been incredible growth. We just talked about it. 5 teams already, possibly 6. Although it sounds like we might be losing a team. So like, why do you think we've seen so much expansion in the USL League recently? And like, how do you think that affects? I think it's kind of obvious, but how do you think that affects overall soccer in America, especially leading up to another World Cup?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, it's like you said, we just went over the 128 teams in USL too. Yeah, they are not professional yet, but they're still building teams. I think people forget that like how expansive the U.S. is. I've driven across this country 4 times from
Europeans, especially.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
I mean, there's 400 million people here. Like, we have so many teams, cities, towns that, probably. We have the teams. It's just not getting that platform where, like you said, where we're talking about MLS, where it's like MLS, it's your big cities. You're not going to have Hearts of Pine's not going to be an MLS team,
right?
Because we have the thing with Boston,
regardless of performance,
and they're already having their own
of
issues.
Our market.
Yeah.
So
right. And I think it's just I think the excitement's always there, because I mean, it's not like we've just never had soccer. We've had soccer in colleges.
Well, did you guys grow up playing?
I personally did not.
You did not.
Yeah, I was very young. I played, but
you know what the question is in my mind? Because I played, and if the USL had been there, I just feel like that's another dream to have, right?
Well,
it's another avenue, as opposed to, I don't know how many Americans feel like they want to go play for Liverpool, Man United. That's the dream, but like, that is the odds of that. But maybe playing in college and then maybe becoming a USL player is a lot more attainable. You've actually if there's USL teams and USL 2 teams all around the country, maybe you have one locally for you. That makes it that much more real.
Well,
and
it's
an actual avenue.
It's that grassroots development, So I think one of the ways you can kind of look at the differences between MLS and the USL, it kind of comes from when they developed as teams. The MLS started with a really top-down model because there was no, top league equivalent in the United States. So the teams kind of sprung up overnight. Whereas in the USL, we've taken a little bit, I'd say, the natural approach to it. You get a bunch of people together that are interested in starting a soccer club, and they work that idea out. They find other like-minded people to be supporters, and then a team kind of grows, not overnight, but over time. And you can see a few teams in the USL that have like actually taken sort of a promotion path. One I can think of is Detroit City. They started out as a semi-pro team playing in the NPSL. And just over time, every couple seasons, as they grew as a team, they'd move around to a D3 league. And then eventually they, bought a franchise in USL Championship. So they've done this natural path of development.
A real natural progression there.
Yeah, and that's what you see in the USL. Is you see there are quite a few teams that maybe start as a USL 2 team, buy a franchise right into USL 1 or USL Championship as they grow. And it's that natural grassroots growth that's different.
Have we ever seen that in the MLS? Is that existent in any team? Because that's what makes diehard fans.
Yes.
That's what makes people bleed for their team.
Well, you know where they started? They all started in the USL. So like FC Cincinnati.
All of them?
No, not all of them. So, but I'd say the teams that have some of the strongest fan bases all started as a USL.
That makes perfect sense.
Franchise, because they grew in that grassroots way, and those are the ones that have really strong connections to their community.
Yeah,
and I think the Hearts have demonstrated that immensely to start out, as working with the community. You have business investors that are local, grew up in our soccer communities around the game, care about it, and have a vested interest in growing the game within the community.
Which we love. That's why part of the reason I'm enjoying the hell out of this.
That's what makes it easy to get behind, right?
Yeah.
As somebody who grew up here and followed the Sea Dogs, and I grew up in a baseball household, right? Like, I grew up playing the game. I wanted to be a Red Sox player, Sea Dogs player. The game of soccer has grown to a point globally where we're seeing younger kids walking around in EPL jerseys and
Totally.
La Liga jerseys more so than when I was a kid.
Soccer bars.
We're
at the zoo. You know, there's every team in the EPL's got a scarf up there. Which now we have a scarf as well.
Finally.
We'll put a picture up. Sorry, not the zoo's got a
we hung
Dirigo
that
Union
yesterday.
scarf yesterday.
There's a little ceremony.
No, you're right. You see that now.
But I think what the Hearts have at their disposal is an opportunity to help grow the game within our communities from Kittery all the way up to Fort Fairfield, Fort Kent, right?
Right.
We already have Seacoast in the USL too. We have a local team in the USL too.
They won.
They just won.
They won the national championship. Yeah.
Great article. Shout out from Rob. That head coach is off the board though, right?
Rob's article was who could be the next coach the coach for Portland Hearts of Pine, and one of them was
Alex Ryan of Seacoast United, who just won the national championship. He did give a quote to the Blazing Musket a couple weeks ago. If you haven't checked it out, Blazing Musket is an awesome publication to cover New England soccer. We actually now have a Hearts of Pine
Shout out Sean.
That's so awesome.
Sean's going to be writing for them. But Alex Ryan did give a quote to them saying that all indication is that he will be the coach of Seacoast again next summer. So,
gotcha.
You know,
So that's out.
But
That's so fun to have something to talk about like that, though, and have it actually be talking about our team.
Oh, yeah.
Even though, like, I just got chills, even though all we're doing is saying he's not going to be our coach. I just love that we're having that discussion. He's out. So.
I will say about Alex Ryan, though, he did say in the article, though, he does have personal ambitions.
I bet he does. Good.
So we might see him around, if maybe not for our team, but
do you think he had discussions with the Hearts?
I would hope so.
Me too.
You know, he's a successful enough manager. You know, he knows the local soccer scene here in northern New England really well. I would hope Hearts, you know, at least reached out to him and had some discussions.
Yeah, me as well.
I'm still voting from that same article. My front runner, again, probably not the most realistic, is Zayed, the coach from Northern Colorado. He's from the Scottish.
He's from Ireland. Yeah,
Irish Premier League.
Okay, I didn't recognize his name, but I remember reading the article. Now that you said that.
He is an absolute electric coach. If you want
some personality,
he's right now. I think he's on his second red card this season.
I think he was also voted.
That might not be a good thing.
Hey, but it's good. He's passionate. All right.
Where's the coach? He's in the beer garden.
I don't know if this is actually true. I swear I read this somewhere, but I can't tell you where. I think he also got voted sexiest manager in the league.
He probably. His parka.
Just you know, added plus right there.
He may have one of the best styles.
We know what's important to Rob now.
But to bring us back on track, I'm excited about the opportunity that the USL provides for the local communities, and a lot of the teams have great followings. You see people getting behind, you know, the game day, picking up trash and giving back to the community, and I think the club has a great opportunity to establish some competition in the local grassroots soccer and give back to the kids in the area.
Well, I also, before we're going to move on, I think it's also just the size is also good, because not every. I think the problem is with just some American sports is they're like, we got to get bigger
and
bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. It's like, you know, sometimes like we talk about Vermont FC, they're a 3,000 person stadium, but like that community enjoys that. Like if you put them in a 10,000 person stadium, you're gonna be like, wow, like do people even support, because they're gonna be bare. But it's just, I think this is a good place. USL gives it access to teams that they don't always need a 20,000 person stadium. We're going to look great. We're going to look absolutely amazing in that stadium. We're going to fill that thing, and that's going to be so intimidating compared to some other teams where it's like, oh, you got a 20,000. You're sitting in a 20,000 person college stadium. There's only like 2,000 people here.
It's
man.
kind of
right.
It brings me back to like going to Revs games.
Oh.
Looks like Arsenal just done it.
Yep. Okay.
Live match reactions, folks, here at the Portland Zoo.
Get down to the zoo. You guys can't see it, but obviously there's a lot of people over in that area. We tried to record there last week, and it was noisy.
We took
we're
it
out here
outside.
in the
We're
garden.
enjoying the weather while
it's
it lasts.
very nice out here.
Yeah.
But, man.
At least somebody gets to be happy this weekend.
Yeah, that must be. Actually, is that 1-0 or 1-1?
It's 1-0, I think.
It is 1-0, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
All right, somebody's getting 3 points. So, all right, we kind of moved around a couple questions, but thank you for getting us back on track, Mitchell. Can I elaborate that a little bit? We were kind of headed that direction, but I think there's more there. So, like, that's part of what differentiates going to a game experience from the MLS as well to the USL USL 1. So you think that's going to affect not only maybe fans but players as well? Like, how does that? What do you think as a player playing for a USL League team as opposed to the MLS? So how and skill levels?
I think it kind of like shows what Maine is all about too. Like, I think some of our fondest memories, like during the summer months, are like sitting by a fire with a bunch of friends, and I think Fitzpatrick is going to give that vibe where it's just a small, close-knit community that loves to have a great time and get behind what's in front of them.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what the club does with the venue, and I think it's just going to increase the overall atmosphere, really. Like having some of the best parks, like you look at Celtic, it's not a big stadium, but it's one of the most vibrant fan atmospheres in all of world football.
Right.
You don't need 15,000 seats to be a good club. You just need to have the right people in the stands cheering on the players. And I think the community that we've already started building and the club has started building from 5 years ago to now is going to have a natural transition to the players finding it a safe space to go out and perform because they have the backing of some of the hardest people.
How could you not want to
US.
play for a side like that?
Right.
That supports you in that way and gives you the home field like that. I mean, that's going to be.
I think
huge.
we also have some players here in Maine that most USL teams do have walk-on tryouts.
Right.
I think there are a lot of players here in the community. I mean, we have 3 NPSL teams here in Maine. I mean, some of those players are good enough to beat USL 1 sides because they do it in the Open Cup. We can find some good players on those teams.
So you're saying there's going to be a percentage of local players?
I would expect us to have local players. We also have a pretty vibrant college sports scene here in Maine.
Yep.
And Brian from the club touched on it in his news interview. They've had about 500 people reach out, when our tryouts. Excuse me.
You're excused.
Had a burp that didn't want to come. But they've had about 500 people reach out for tryouts. And you have to think there's a lot of these local kids that are maybe just transitioning into college. You have a lot of great high school soccer programs in Lewiston and Portland, Deering. You have to expect a lot of these new Mainers that have come in and are trying to find a path within there.
That's what you want, though. You want those kids to be like, I'm trying out for the Hearts. Because it makes them better. It makes everybody better. Gives them what seems like an attainable goal. Mm-hmm. I would say they're not, like I said, they're not going to go try out for the Premier League teams, but try out for the Hearts, and maybe they can get there.
I just don't want people to get hung up on everybody has to be local, because at the end of the day, you do want to field a competitive team, and not every person needs to be from right in your backyard to do that.
Are there any requirements as far as local players or American players in USL teams?
They're not. On average, it's about 50-50. So about 50 are international players, and that's FIFA international, not necessarily international in terms of citizenship. So it's about 50 FIFA internationals and 50% American players.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. And
that's good to know.
And I don't think, the contracts aren't very long here. So, it's going to be every
year almost.
Every year is going to just be a free agency.
What is the average contract? Do we know that
I've
number?
seen a couple 2, but I think mostly are just 1 year.
So they're short, really
year.
short.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
you basically cobble together, and this is true of lower leagues all over the world. Basically, you cobble together a new team generally about every season, every 2 years.
But yeah, that's the beauty of it. If you're providing a good atmosphere, a good place to be, you're always going to have, that at least that verbal commitment, like, hey, I do like it here. I do want to keep pursuing being here, and that can how that might just us. Hey, we don't have you under contract, come November, but then they're like, hey, no, I do want to be here, and that's going to be like, I feel like that's going to build like our connection with players, and the players then saying, hey, like I know I don't have my contract, but when you guys are re-signing your players, like I want to be here. And I think that's going to be such a great thing to really build.
I hope so.
On
I love it.
Because it is PBA weekend here in Portland. The professional bowling is right here at Bayside this week.
I thought it was like a peanut butter event.
No, professional bowling. That has become one of the best spots on the tour. From the athletes themselves to their family and friends. It is no secret how much they love coming to Portland. And Chaz is right. If the fans just get behind the team, no matter what, we're going to see new
airport.
Yeah.
Welcome to Portland.
Yeah, welcome. We welcome you to your new home. Welcome home, just like the sign says when you drive in. But
welcome home, but you're gonna lose.
But you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
But
Just wait, I could see a podcast in the future. He's getting off the plane. You'll see him behind us. We're gonna be at the first interview.
But
he doesn't speak English. But
no, I think
Sometimes.
Chaz speaks Spanish.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
I think Chaz is right. If we're obviously going to have a few long timers like USL. This is my peak, and I'm going to own that, and I'm going to give what I have to whatever club I'm at. I hope we have somebody that sticks around for a long time, says, yeah, no, I've come to Portland. I've played for this club. I love the community. This is my home now. I am excited for that, but we want to provide a stopping point. It's a waypoint on the path for a lot of these guys, right? And we want to make it the best experience for them, for us, for the club, like for everybody. So it's just, I think everything that we've been doing so far is going to provide just that.
Just to clarify, when I say you're going to lose, I mean that's when the players come visit us.
Especially Jermaine Jones.
Our players are going to win. They're going to win big.
Is Jermaine Jones going to have a job next year?
Yes.
Yeah. He's
okay.
Entwined in the Central Valley.
Crazy being at the bottom of the table, right?
Hey, I mean, I can't say I've watched too many games after the start of the season. Definitely some of the games I've stayed away from.
So building on that and a comment from Rob that the league is often seen as a selling league.
Yeah.
There's positives and negatives to that, right? We want to, I think you kind of covered that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like at the end of the day, are we enjoying what we have in front of us? And I think a lot of people are just excited to be able to say, I can go down to Fitzpatrick and enjoy some high-level soccer.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
I also think that's going to be a really
professional, not high level, but professional is a new thing.
Well, I was going to say in terms of like the actual, like, it's going to be so, I've been doing like the transfer news and stuff. And I was like, I think it's going to be so cool. Cause I mean, what we have, again, I don't know, we're different from like the Maine Mariners and like the Maine Celtics, where it's like you don't really get to sell those players. They just get traded or they get moved up, and then you don't really get anything in return. You kind of just got this left void. You're like, man, I love this guy, and then he's just gone the next day. Whereas here, like, if we have a transfer, we could transfer someone and we're selling them for all this money because that money comes back to us. Well, I mean, the management, and they can do that. I think that's going to be such a cool, like, such a different and cool thing that you can be like, we had this wonder kid or good player that moves on, like, and you're gonna be like, wow, we just made all this money off of him because he did good here with us. That's gonna be like just another reason to just keep celebrating. It's just like, wow, we just built, or he thrived here and we sold him, and now we get a reward for it, not just being
like
left voidless.
Selling Coutinho.
Yeah.
You do that every time. You almost get me going. Not a Liverpool podcast. God, yesterday stunk. All right. Let's talk about Soccer Wars a little bit because we alluded to it.
We did.
So, talk about differentiating the fan experience between USL and Major League Soccer. Their question says, are there specific advantages that USL clubs have and communities have over MLS that the USL has? So you can answer that if you want, but you've got a notes to say a little history of play pre-2020, Soccer Wars, local loaning of players.
And so kind of just to give the history of kind of the relationship between the two leagues. So actually before 2020, for the most part, the MLS's reserve teams played in the USL. In 2020, MLS decided that they wanted to end that partnership, and they launched their own Division III league called MLS Next Pro.
MLS Next, right?
Yeah. So Next Pro is kind of slowly starting to move into markets that would otherwise.
That's another league that's existing.
It's another league that
exists.
Yeah, so they exist on that Division III level with us, and
the MLS is pushing this league, which means they're not just by the way of promoting one, they're not promoting the other, being USL.
Yes, they are setting up a competing league.
Yeah, so that's
basically. So it's
there you go.
Yeah, so
not best of friends.
There's some very strong feelings. I think, especially. I mean, I think the leagues are not saying a lot about it, obviously, because they're businesses. But I think among the fan bases, there's not a lot of love lost between them. And one city it's going to be really interesting to see is Jacksonville is actually getting an expansion franchise for both divisions, both MLS Next Pro and the USL, I believe, in the same year.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, I believe in the same year it's happening. So that'll be really kind of wild to see. But the only time the two leagues play each other is during the U.S. Open Cup. And last year, MLS did another thing, which kind of brought a lot of intense feelings from the USL community. They announced they were no longer going to compete in the U.S. Open Cup, which, just for some backstory for everyone, is the oldest soccer competition here in the United States. It's over 110 years old. I think it's 115 years next year, if that's right. You know, it is the only competition that has existed throughout history in this country. You know, it's pre-MLS during the very low years of probably the 50s to the 90s, when there just wasn't amazing higher league soccer in the United States. That competition kept going, and MLS said, we're not going to play our first teams anymore. We're not going to participate. We're only going to send our reserve teams, which I think kind of sent a bad message about the value of soccer here in the United States, especially because, you know, the reason they said they were doing it was because of schedule congestion.
Yeah.
After they started...
That's the reason.
Because they started the Leagues Cup with Mexico, which I think the general sense of most people is that they did that as a cash grab. They did that to make money only. It wasn't about sporting quality. It was only about making money. And...
That's not how business works.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, so I guess it's your take on that whole thing. They ended up fielding 8 teams. They sent 8 teams to participate.
Is this what Soccer Wars is essentially?
Oh yeah. So it's
they call it's encompassed by that term.
It's encompassed by that term. Yeah. It's basically the leagues competing. Right now it's mostly stuck to the U.S. Open Cup, where you have that disconnect of the MLS not sending all their teams.
Yep.
And then Division 3, where actively our league, USL League One, is competing with MLS Next Pro.
Yeah.
And there are independent teams that join MLS Next Pro. Bridgeport, Connecticut is the closest one to us. They'll be joining the
After
league.
this podcast, I got to go look up MLS Next Pro. I've heard about it, but I didn't realize it was actually already started and really running at the same time.
Yeah. And we just had a recent, there was an MLS Next Pro team coming into an area that was under the impression of a USL franchise.
Yeah, so I'm blanking on the name of the city in Florida. Yeah, so what happened is that the city asked for bids from both leagues.
Yep.
I think initially the city took the MLS Next Pro bid and then backed out.
Okay.
And now they wanted the USL to bid for a franchise down there. I want to say it's Palm Beach, but I might be wrong.
So that's a really interesting experiment then, that area, to see what happens.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of the thing right now, is seeing where, you know, which league kind of is dominant, because our league isn't that old.
No,
USL League One is 2019,
right?
Is when the league started. So we're kind of a new product too, although the USL in general has been around for a long time.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of what Soccer Wars means.
But USL 1 is the league that's growing the fastest, expanding the fastest.
Yeah, I don't know how many teams are joining MLS Next Pro next year. I think we have more teams joining.
Take that, MLS Next Pro.
It's interesting with the rate of expansion that we're seeing in just USL 1 and being a part of that expansion, and having this fight kind of start breaking out, because I think it's forcing some change at the top level. The entire U.S. soccer structure clearly needs a rework, and I think this is partly pushing the hand of that. And I would with the MLS saying we're gonna just throw the Tier 2 teams into the U.S. Open Cup and the introduction of the Jägermeister Cup this year. Do you see the USL adopting an FA style competition where it would go across all of the USL leagues to allow those semi-pro USL 2 clubs a chance to play up?
Question.
I don't know. Chaz, I don't know if you have strong feelings about it. I think they're kind of using the Jaeger. That might, if the U.S. Open Cup changes format significantly, they might make the Jägermeister Cup a little bit more like a U.S. Open Cup, in that it has multiple divisions involved. I think still right now the general sense in USL is they want the Open Cup to succeed.
Yeah, I think we all do as fans of the game.
Because it's honestly, it's a very fun competition. I know early on in the supporters group's history, we did a watch party on Discord. We watched Vermont play.
Oh, nice.
in the Open Cup, and weird things happen in the Open Cup because it's a single elimination tournament. So one of the coolest things that happened a couple years ago is Union Omaha defeated MLS teams. They were playing in our league. Mm-hmm. They're a Division III team. And
That's exciting.
And they were beating MLS teams in the competition.
That's like an FA Cup or something like that,
yeah,
right? So
you do. It has an FA Cup feel, and it's kind of based on that style. So it's a really fun competition because weird things happen.
That's the beauty of all sport. And
exactly.
Soccer specifically, I feel like getting smaller teams to play bigger teams, the upsets, the communities that build. More of that, please.
So I think that's why I want the Open Cup to succeed. I want Jägermeister Cup to be cool and interesting too, and it has been this year. Yeah. But I also want to see the Open Cup be a strong competition.
100%.
We should talk about.
There's no sense in throwing away history.
We should talk about the structure then, about the league real quick. I think we have it lower, but I think that's a good place to put it. So. What's the Jägermeister Cup? What about like playoffs? What about just champion as far as points totals at the end of the season? How does that all work in USL 1?
So I guess the regular season. I mean, it's your pretty standard format. You win, get 3 points. There's not really too much. But in terms of the Jägermeister was really cool because.
Oh, watch the table, Chuck.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
It does.
Sorry, Chaz.
It pushes for like goal scoring. It's, I mean, I love watching soccer, but every now and then watching 3-4 games go 0-0 or where you notice teams go fully defensive.
Yep.
And you're just they kind of just clam up. It's hard whereas the Jaeger, I think they do, they push instead of they do the points, and then the next goal differential is how many goals you just scored. Not goal differential. It's how many goals you score. And we have just these insane stats like Northern Colorado. They scored 24 goals in 8 games.
So it's a higher scoring league in general as well, I would think.
That competition specifically within the league
is crazy.
Yeah, because that is and Union Omaha, they were at the bottom of their grouping at first, and they've slowly clawed back and so there's 3. I guess we'll start with there's 3 groups with the 4 teams. And you have to win your champion. It's not the first 2. It's you have to win your grouping, and then there's a wild card. Whoever's the most goals scored is the 4th team
back
to go into the
goals
playoff.
Scored again.
So and that's how Union slid in.
It's exciting.
Was there and they're in a
so no Italian soccer in the Jägermeister Cup. We're not sitting.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we just had the final squared away for this year, right? The inaugural Jägermeister Cup.
No, that was just the semifinal. So the final is coming up on the 29th.
The final matchup has been squared away.
Yeah.
Who are we going to be seeing?
It's going to be Forward Madison. Oh, sorry. And then the
You're good.
Northern Colorado, and it's going to be good because Forward Madison is a pretty good all-around team. They're a really flashy.
They got the pink jerseys everybody's talking about right now.
Yeah. And they have really good attendance.
Are they the Flamingos?
They are. That's their
I kind of love that.
The logo's not bad. I like their
crest.
They
have the pink flamingo plastic thing all over the front lawn and stuff
at
the stadium.
Jump house, bounce house.
That's awesome.
Flamingo.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, they're going against Northern Colorado again. Who, gosh, the powers that be. That's a whole other story though. But they're, again, just an absolute attacking unit. They have just a little tandem here so they have a guy named Bruno Rendon. He was a defender who got converted into a forward, and he's now leading the league in goals.
Oh, wow.
And it's where else does that happen? Where you're what coach comes in and says, you should totally start scoring
little Thierry
goals.
Henry type thing?
Yeah,
I mean, he wasn't a striker, right? Not a defender though, but still, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So, and they're just like a 3-headed beast going against this big, and they're kind of Northern Colorado, this tiny team. They're going to go against the big flashy.
Love it.
It's going to be a great high scoring game.
Is this your favorite competition?
I love Northern Colorado. I'm from there,
but you love
and again,
the Jägermeister Cup.
I love it. I think it's great. I love just again the rivalry. It's just building that rivalry, and then just getting losing in a way, losing or beating, getting that wild card is going to just be so cool to be you're oh man, our season's kind of over, and then you just get away with being you know what, let's just screw playing defense. Yeah. We're going to score 7 goals. If you score 7 goals, if you need 7 goals to get in, score 7 goals. You can lose. You could have 6.
That's crazy to think about that. Wow.
Just
that's the way
score.
it works.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They don't care about conceding points.
Did you say when it runs?
The 29th is going to be the final, I believe.
And how long's the whole cup run?
Oh, it's lasted. I want to say it started in June. It lasted about 3-4 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interspersed within the season. So
Right.
You'll go 1 week, you'll have a regular league game, then the next week you'll have
This
an
is our
Open
FA
game.
Cup.
Or not
Yeah.
Open Cup, I'm sorry.
Right? It is.
Yeah,
It's
it's the Wednesday.
Good interleague
Yeah.
cup.
Yeah, it's the Wednesday, Thursday matchups. So instead of the
Okay.
Saturday, they do Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So how many cups outside of the regular? How many competitions does USL League play in? How many will Portland Hearts of Pine play in this first season?
At least 3. So we'll have the Open Cup, we'll have the regular league season, and then we'll have the Jaeger Cup.
Okay.
Hopefully, I'm just throwing this out there to all the teams in New England. I'm just saying it'd be cool if we could have a New England Cup. Just throwing that out there.
I love that
as an
idea.
idea.
That would be fun.
Just throwing that out there. But that's not an official competition yet.
Sponsored
No,
by
that is just a
Mitchell.
hope.
No, yeah, I'll start writing checks. Yeah, let's go. Let's get it done.
Will they bounce?
Prize money will
I don't
come
know
right
yet.
out of his
Yeah.
bank account.
But the regular season's 3 points for a win. You draw, right? You
Yeah.
get a point.
Get a
Okay, there's
point,
no
yeah.
crazy, and we're still hitting. This is how ignorant I am. It goes back to the days of. Remember when PKs maybe it wasn't even the MLS at the time, but it was actually breakaway penalties.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that.
I miss those.
You can look back on those kind of fondly, and
It's a little
especially-
nostalgia
Did they
value.
do corners at one time too? I know there was a league that instead of a PK did a corner.
I don't
routine.
remember
Interesting.
that.
I swear,
just
somebody's gotta
I just
look it up. I
remember
could
the
be totally
full
wrong, but
bomb
I-
sprints from midfield.
Oh yeah,
Those were electric. Bring them back.
But so then for the main competition, the league, the top 8 teams. Right now, it's the top 8 teams go to the playoffs.
Okay.
But that might change a little bit because we're adding more teams to the league. So I think the league generally announces their schedule in December. I will probably find out then kind of what the format.
So what's more coveted? Is it? Do people rather win the playoffs? Or they rather win the league? Like which one has more?
I think
clout.
I think that's a question for.
I think
your fan
I think
base.
it depends
you'll
on
get
how
different
desperate.
answers there.
I think that's a mid-season question. You say because
I feel like as Americans we understand playoffs, and
Yeah.
like Europeans are like, well, who won the league?
I mean,
Yeah,
lacking
so, like-
promotion relegation, I think winning the playoffs is a more coveted thing.
I mean, those are how our high schools work. That's
Yeah.
how our youth systems work.
Yeah.
Did you make the playoffs? How far did you get in the playoffs?
Yeah.
well, I think once a team gets 3 trophies in 1 year, people are gonna be like, wait a second,
All right, let me look. Hold
why
on.
did you have 3 trophies?
I thought
We're
our
gonna-
Hearts of Pine winning the treble year one.
And we do call it a treble, right? Or no?
I think. Well, I guess
I
we'd
just
have
coined
to,
it that.
Yeah,
I
I
love
would imagine that's still the same thing.
I would hope.
So
Yeah, I would hope we don't change that.
is the players' shield? That's the term for winning the league, having the most points in the league. Does that make
I don't know
sense
if we
to
have a
anybody?
shield. We
I
don't
don't-
have a
I don't-
USL.
I don't
Well,
think
I looked this up, and apologies for anybody who can't see my phone, but it's got 2 columns. The Players' Shield of the teams that won the playoff championship since 2019, and then Players' Shield. And if you click Players' Shield, it says, at least in the card down. I think that's who won the most points. So
I guess.
this says Union Omaha had the most points in 2023, but then North Carolina FC won the playoffs.
that
so,
makes.
That's
so
what
it
they're
says it was
saying.
also known as the regular season champion. So yeah, I
I
guess
guess
we
we do
Players'
have
Shield
yeah
to
we
win
do
the
have,
regular
we do have
season.
some. I mean I want to win it
Real
all.
people don't
yeah,
call it that. Okay.
I want both.
I want both.
If we're winning the points total during the regular season, I would hope the expectation is we go on to win the whole thing.
You don't Boston Bruins 2022 Boston Bruins it?
They've done it like
Don't
every
do
year
that.
for the last 5
No.
years. What are you talking about?
Well, let me phrase it this way. You guys watch USL 1. So, like, who's the better team in your mind? The North Carolina FC or Union Omaha? Because those are the two.
North Carolina actually is an interesting team. So they self-relegated themselves for a few years because they were having financial
Self-relegated.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
they self-relegated
financial.
from the championship to League One for a few years because they were having some financial difficulties. And they just went back up. So now they're a championship team again. So they are a better team.
Yeah.
Than
now.
Union Omaha.
Yeah, on paper.
In theory.
Yes.
Union Omaha though is
It
another
seems like
amazing team. So
they
I don't know actually who would be better.
Union Omaha is.
Well, do you guys buy into that whole thing that it's about you call people a cup team because they can always win a one-off game, but maybe they're not the most consistent team that's going to have the most points at the end of the season. Do you feel that way about?
Northern Colorado's kind of that way. They are not doing amazing in the regular season.
They could
right
beat
now,
anybody on
but
their
they're
day.
doing really well in the Jaeger Cup.
So they kind of. I think
cannon.
it was kind of.
Glass cannon.
I think it was kind of more of like they were doing so well in the cup because it's weird because you have a scheme for your play.
Yeah.
And then when you go into this cup, it's now just score. just score goals.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what changed them.
Change it.
Because now when they're on their league games, they went from out of playoffs to now being like a top. I think they're top like 3 or 4 right now. And it took a while, but I think it completely shifted how their team's like, okay, move up the sides, get it to our top. We have 3. They have an amazing front. And I think the league, the Jägermeister Cup helped them change their mindset and be like, hey, this is working here. Let's just do this in our regular games, and it
just play that much
more. And now they're definitely. I could see them being, they can make a run for it. They could absolutely be because they're like a 3-headed dragon, and there's not a lot that can,
stop.
You're making me want to watch, man.
It's like a Hydra. You really cut off one head, 2 more grow back.
They got 2 more, and they're shifty. Yeah, oh man, I could talk all day.
We've mentioned it a couple times. This is a huge topic. It could be its own podcast, but just really quickly, relegation promotion. So you said like that team self-relegated themselves, but there isn't actually a proper relegation promotion, pro-rel, in place. So how does that affect like MLS? We'll try and be concise. Is it scared? Are they scared of that? Do they not want to see that happening?
I don't think MLS owners want that.
Well, the owners certainly don't.
The owners run the league, though. So,
so the league doesn't want it.
That league doesn't want to lose any of its investment. What the owners have put in, they want to make money off the league. So I don't think they're a closed system.
Do you think USL wants it? The fans want it, I think. The fans want it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the USL does want it. I think the thing right now is there's a number of owners that want to know how it will they're concerned about financials. They want to make sure that if a team gets sent down, they're still going to make enough money to survive.
It's a real danger.
Because most of these teams don't make money.
Right.
They break even every season, or that's the goal, is to break even. So,
fan enthusiasm doesn't.
Yeah, so I think we're at least 2 years away from pro-rel. The league president has said he wants to have a pro-rel vote within 2 years, and I think he said that in December. Sure.
So like look from a knowledge base from the outside looking in, how does pro-rel get affected by the size of the city, the demographics, how much is even on the table money to make essentially? Can you become a USL 1 team a championship team if your city's doesn't meet some type of qualification and population?
Yeah, the USSF standards for leagues is personally, I think it's a little bit more of a business-based classification.
It sounds like it.
Like one of the things that's in there for leagues to be considered a D2 league or a D1 or whatever category they're in is your metro area size.
Okay, that's what I was thinking
Which is, it doesn't really impact the USL as much because we're tending to go into smaller markets. So we just kind of end up where we
But that would affect it.
Yeah.
If that go down that route, right?
But if you get into the...
Boston's part of Portland, right? That's part of our metro population.
I mean, not with the issues that the Rebs have had finding their own stadium. And I think the thing that, in terms of demographic size and territory, I think if the USL is strategic about picking their regions, and I kind of have to disagree with Rob. I think it's a little bit further out than 2 years. I think the conversations are being had, but we won't have a decision for longer. You need these clubs to establish some sort of semblance, right? They need to find their voice. They need to figure things out. So if they organize the league structure across their 3 tiers to a space that it's within these boundaries, and then you have the net of the entire USL pyramid, the conversation becomes a little bit more feasible.
Sure.
If everybody from the championship down has that same baseline of, breaking even is just the goal, it's not about the money, it's about the product, and we take an honest look at ourselves and structure it properly, I think it could be manageable for business owners and shareholders, and give the fans and players kind of that thing that they've been itching for.
Right. That's well said, right? So not 2 years. That's what I heard.
I think 2 years they might have a vote. But
I
do actually agree with you. I think that when they make that vote, it's not going to be immediate. It's there's going to be this plan put in place if
they're going to do it, they have to do it properly, or it's never going to work.
And I hope they do it, because the system's kind of there already. We have a championship. We have League One. It'd be good to see up and down movement between those two.
Yeah.
There's been some talk about adding a third Division 2 on top of the championship, so who knows?
Interesting. All right. Who are our big rivalries in USL 1 right now?
The big...
in general, or like with us?
Not
oh,
for
no,
us, just
not
like
for us,
league
since we're just...
rivalries.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, there's the Henny Derby, which you'd be like, what the heck is that?
Height?
It's between Madison and then the Richmond Kickers, which are
the Flamingos and the Kickers.
Yeah, the Kickers. They're 7 states away from each other. Yeah. So again, it's not in terms of like a distance derby, but that was just more like a nice historical, and they have a lot more of like, they're kind of like the Richmond's team, the Mingos, and then the Kickins are more like the people working class team.
Love it.
So we have that. We have the Fire and Ice Cup or Derby, which is Northern Colorado versus Central Valley Fuego.
That's awesome.
Always an electric game. Mm-hmm. Fights, red cards. Head in
the game, Mitchell. Head in the game.
Yeah, they are a quality. That's one of my favorite derbies I watch the last 2 years, is because it's always just like 30-yard, just absolute piss missiles from like 30 yards out to in the game, like the 95th minute. They're always fighting each other. That's one of your more dirtier ones. There's one in Tennessee between Knoxville and Chattanooga. Theirs isn't that. They're still kind of building theirs. So I mean, they're there, and they actually, these teams really do like genuinely not like each other.
Yeah,
that's real.
So it's not just like they just randomly were like, yeah, they're real ones, and I mean, and I think the my favorite again is the Fire and Ice, which is again another one that's like 4 states away from each other, like 2,000 miles from each other. So I guess that's just beautiful for us, because I mean we don't have anyone right now that could really be ours like regionally, like Westchester.
Westchester's closest.
Was the closest, but distance doesn't necessarily mean
there's
that's going to be our derby, which I think is going to be awesome, because I think it's going to be figuring out like who. Because again, we're gonna have teams coming in and out.
It's gonna be one thing that sets us off.
It's gonna be one.
There's gonna be a moment where everybody just looks at each other during the middle of a game and like,
it's on. It could be a player celebration. It could be something said in an interview afterwards. Something a coach says. I mean, I cannot wait. So I shouldn't be so excited to hate somebody. That's not the right message.
I'm excited to hate somebody.
You're excited. All right.
Well, I mean, the Henny Derby is Richmond and at Madison. It was just a bet. They were like, "Who's going to win?"
Supporter groups, wasn't
it? Was a bet between the two of the supporter groups. It was over a bottle of Henny.
Teams.
Yeah, and the winner gets a bottle of Henny.
Yeah, they get a bottle of Henny. Yeah. So I mean, it'll be some. Yeah, it's going to be something small, and it's going to be something small. I wonder. Hopefully, it's just not for someone in like San Diego.
Yeah, I'm not walking there. We're getting close to the hour mark here. So just a couple things to wrap up. I will say we did a ton of coverage on the league today. Definitely didn't get to all of it. We're gonna be continuing the conversation as we get closer to the season. But I will say
more Chaz and Rob.
Yes, we need more Chaz and Rob. But I will say, like, one last question. What's your elevator pitch, your 15-second sell on USL League One, and why somebody who may not have decided on supporting Hearts of Pine? What is your sell on the league and the product that's going to be coming here next spring?
I'll give you my simple real world answer right now. Is if you want to go see live soccer, it's like 30 to an hour wherever you live in Maine to get to the Fitzpatrick Stadium.
Yep,
it's probably 5 hours round trip to go see the Revs play. So that's
and a lot more money.
And a lot more money. So that's my real world pitch.
And it's the Revs.
If you like live soccer, they're here. This is our community team. So just go. My second reason, which is more the esoteric one, I guess, is saying this is our club.
Yeah.
This is our grassroots organization. This is really gonna show what our community is about. And if you want to meet other Mainers who love soccer, this is the place to go.
Beautiful. Chaz, you got one?
Mine's, we've been doing this for 5, well, maybe me not personally, but I know I've only been here for 3 years, but the preparation that's been going into this is unreal. Like it feels different. And I know I know again, and I know we've had our spats about it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was like, I think it's for where we are. I always make this analogy. I always said, we're like, this is about to be a huge party. And where we're at in this step is the guy that has the house that we're throwing this house party at isn't home. We're just in his front yard, just partying. Like
I love that analogy.
Yeah, we're told us to pull up, and he's just at the store getting everything.
Yeah, we're already like, and we're
and
just
he's coming.
And we know, and then we're like, man, this party's gonna be so great because this guy's getting everything, and we're already just so excited that we're just sitting in this dude's there's beach chairs just in this dude's front yard.
Yeah,
and it's been growing so naturally, and it's taken so long. And I mean, you've met Gabe. Like, if you haven't met Gabe, you probably just didn't have your head up.
You haven't been trying hard enough.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I think once March hits, this is going to be insane.
I think it's going to be sooner than that. I think like whatever the next big announcement is, like after Heartsapalooza and breaking the deposit record for the league, it's like what's next? Is it manager? Is it kit? Is it what? Those things are coming.
It's coming. I mean, November is going to be crazy.
It's going to be in the blink of an eye.
We're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about, which is why we need to do more USL One, I think, through October. So I think it'd be really cool one of these times to get maybe a little overview of every team. Something like that. Follow this episode up with something like that.
Maybe do it a little more casual. Just have a watch party in the Discord.
All right. So when we are going to have a watch party in the Discord. So give us the details, Mitchell.
So October 4th, 7:30 p.m. Charlotte versus Forward Madison. Two kind of big dogs in the league. The season is coming to a close. We have the Jägermeister Cup final coming, but I think it's a good opportunity for everybody that has just joined recently, anybody that has been in the Discord and maybe wants to start interacting with people a little bit more. We can stream the game right in the Discord server. You can ask questions. We can kind of banter about the teams and
become a regular thing. It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
And for away days when we're playing, it's going to be an outlet for us to get together if we can't get somewhere physically.
Do you know if the zoo, which, by the way, up to the lead up to the season, we're trying to be here at the zoo on Premier League weekends. So come on down, say hi to us, too, watch the games, get on the podcast. Walk by and yell some profanities. We'd be totally into that.
Yeah, we love adding.
We did a good job, today.
I didn't mean to bring a cuss jar, and we didn't even need it.
Donald, no messages about profanity.
I did good.
We heard it loud and clear.
I was on my best behavior.
Mitchell was. All right, so, and also, is the zoo going to show USL games? Maybe we could talk.
Maybe we could strong arm them.
Especially the Jägermeister Cup.
Bird
will be here.
Bird's been instrumental in getting Premier League and La Liga matches on. I don't see why we wouldn't be putting the local league on the TV.
I love these ideas.
But a lot coming down the pike. October 4th, 7:30 p.m. in the Discord. It's a Friday night, I believe. Friday or Saturday night. Hop in, have a drink, relax. We'll all watch the game together, have a good time, kind of get a feel for what we're going to be seeing next spring. Anything else, guys?
No, that's a wrap, man.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
Up the hearts.
Up the hearts.
Sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion. Just my kind of heat, keep it on repeat. Tested by the motion, loving this devotion.
Up the hearts.
Live it up, sweet emotion. Every time, every night, you and I on a roll. Switch it up where I'm going. Stay on the fly, just in time, know the right way to go. I'm on the road, it's my time, taking control of my life. I want to run the red lights, I've got to run this show. You always take me
I've never done that.
You always make the highlights. I love the way we vibe. You're like a centerfold. Ooh, that sugar sweet. You got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion. Just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat. Tested by the motion. Loving this devotion. Ooh, that sugar.
We've got a supporters group, we've got chants, we got smoke bombs. What more do you need?